So let's turn to some things that are presented as alternatives to policing, which in my estimation might better be thought of as complements to policing. So Jeff, the term violence interrupter was mentioned a few times in the first panel. I want to turn to you as one of the kind of leading researchers of cure violence, which has become a very popular intervention. And first, I want to acknowledge that a lot of people kind of watching at home are not necessarily criminal justice experts. So if you could just give not a PhD dissertation, but just a quick description of what cure violence is. And then also kind of walk me through what the evidence says about its effectiveness.
All right. Well, Marlon, in the prior conversation, alluded to it and talked about programs here in New York that the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice labels the crisis management system, but it's essentially the cure violence model. And it's built upon several pillars. One pillar is the people in the neighborhood are the most precious resource for helping to make that neighborhood safe. And another pillar is the people you want reaching out to we have to all accept it's predominantly males, predominantly under 30, 35, who would be walking around with a gun, prone to use it. That those people need to be contacted by people they trust and know, and that's called credible messenger or violence interrupter. So you organize a group of those people to be out in the neighborhoods getting to know people. There's a misconception because it's called violence interrupter. Sometimes people who are trying to disparage the program paint a picture of someone running into a violent scene and saying, stop, put your guns away, which is stupid. That's not how it works. But what they do is spend time in the neighborhood. They know where to hang out in the park, where the people are going to be who they need to contact. They form relationships. They keep up with them. They ask questions. They get to know them. And then they start talking about ways of solving disputes without using violence. And then finally, there's a category of worker often called outreach worker, which is kind of like an old-fashioned caseworker, street worker, social worker, where you find out that one of the reasons this kid is in the park all the time is he doesn't have a place to live. So let's work on that. So they focus on employment, education, in order to connect people to supports. So all those things come together. The final thing is it's not citywide. It's not even a huge neighborhood. They focus on very small area neighborhoods. Because if you're that 16-year-old walking around with a gun and someone approaches you and says, hey, can I talk to you? You need to know that they come from the same place you do. Maybe you knew their brother in school. Maybe you have met their family before. You might listen then. If it's someone looking like me that comes in and I have an MSW and I'm going to talk to you about violence, you're done. And if they know that I am going to talk to them and ask questions and then run back to the precinct to tell the command structure what I learned, I'm also done. I will never be talked to again. I will have no access to that community. So that's, in principle, what that program does. The challenge is it's really hard to evaluate them. You referred to me as one of the leading researchers. That's sort of evidence of the problem.
That's very modest of you, Jeff.
Yeah. The fact that I've done several studies on this, that it's starting to grow, the literature's starting to grow, but it's so hard to get funding to do these studies. Everyone wants to fund policing. America not only has a fetish for guns, we have a fetish for badges and uniforms and authority. And certainly it's an important part of public safety. We need that. But it's clearly not the principal cause of public safety. It's what you need in order to respond to your prior failures to ensure public safety. So the fact that there's so much money flowing into police research and just a dribble heading toward community. Now the other challenge, which gets me in trouble, is that we're just about to see a river of money flow toward these programs in a completely uncontrolled, ideological, performative way. And that's concerning. These programs are precious, and we need to build them with solid evidence. And the more I see policymakers just latch onto the brand name and start writing checks, it's going to end badly because you don't have to be that smart to find the flaws in the evidence for those programs. And we need to protect them and build the asset, not just embrace the brand and then hope it goes well.